to go in order, I suppose if we talk about No Man's Sky, I don't. Did you guys have any? I know I'm the only one that owns it, I believe. Did you guys have any thoughts on it, or?
It's piqued my curiosity, like reading about the update. Like I commend the developers for just understanding that the PR nightmare that they had sort of found themselves in was irretrievable. So to just like go radio silent, put their heads down, and get some work done. And I've been hearing great things about those who have been delving into it. So it sort of confirms my initial suspicions, which like No Man's Sky is very much like other procedural games. Minecraft now is not even close to what it was when it first came in. Like it was entirely different. The only difference is that when Minecraft first came out, there wasn't a campaign or marketing push saying a bunch of stuff about it. They just released it.
Mhm.
So the public was more receptive to it, and then they're more uh, receptive to the additions and the patches and stuff because you realize like this is an ever growing game. It's not like an Uncharted where game is done, we put a bow on it, everybody enjoy. This is it. Like um, it's it's a far more malleable means of entertainment, I guess is a way of sort of describing it. So unfortunately, No Man's Sky is due to uh, some maybe not entirely choice decisions in regards to marketing. They left themselves in a bad spot. Had they been a little bit quieter in the marketing or not forced to promise certain things, or they had just been like, here's what the game looks like, and just left it like
Yeah.
mystery, like just J.J. Abrams it and like leave it a big mystery box. That might have been better to their advantage. That said, though, this patch it's definitely piqued my interest because there's some things addressed in it that I'm like, ooh, well, I'm happy with that. Sounds like these play sessions are better. So I'm curious about it. And I think I'm leaning more towards PC because I think it's a good sort of game where if my wife's in the middle of a movie and I just want to kill some time until she's done watching the movie, it's something I can play on the computer without having to like, we just have the one TV because we're not Rockefellers. Um, so yeah, it's, rather than wait for my turn, I'll just play on the computer. But yeah, it's definitely the patch has piqued my interest. I was on the fence about whether I'd even ever pursue it. Most of the reviews I've read were first 2 hours are great, and then after that, it's overstayed its welcome. But now with the patch, it seems to have changed a lot of that, and that's really has me interested again.
Yeah, Jeff, yourself, would you
No,
now consider it?
no,
Okay,
no,
next.
no. I am the opposite. I think
Yeah.
I think 90 Days of Silence is probably the worst thing you can do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no communication. You don't know what's going to happen with the game. We thought the game was dead. And the only one that's come back from it is probably like Drive Club or Destiny, where they've had constant communication, constant updates. And Drive Club's awesome now. Like, they promised the world and they launched with nothing, like half the game that they were supposed to have. But then they got out there, they were in touch with the community and saying things were coming and this track's going to release. And it was like a steady flow. This is like one patch. Sean Murray's gone. Like no one knows where he is. He's probably, I don't know, off in Mexico somewhere. Like
He's in a bunker. He's hiding.
he I wouldn't show his face. I think he might have been the problem. Maybe he was promising too much and people behind the scenes were like, what are you doing? Like we can't
He was a
do
Peter
this.
Molyneux.
I don't know.
Like he was a Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
But
Like this is
I don't know. I think people just turned on. He just became the focal point because he was the most vocal, and he did some very. And it's like when he set this out, did he say to himself, "I can't wait to go on Stephen Colbert"? Or was it a bit more pushing, like push from Sony, push from the company?
I'm sure he had
Like let's get it.
Yeah, I'm sure he had pushed to do it, to market it, right? But when you
Yeah,
like
so
say can't ever find a player and then people do it like within an hour and you're like,
yeah.
like and then
Yeah.
leave it.
but I think it
I
was
don't
his. But
Well, I think that's the difference too,
when he
is
went,
that like the Molyneux thing, like he would promise all these things, like what was the one a lot of quotes about love. It's like this game is going to teach you love or help you
Yeah.
experience love and all this stuff. It's like as a dog, you played fetch. It was great. It was fun, but that's all it was. But I think the difference was is that none of the things he was promising were measurable or quantifiable. The things that he was promising were all subjective. And it was like, if people were like, well, I didn't fall in love with the dog, and it's like, well, that's your problem. Like, whereas with No Man's Sky, the things that they were promising were measurable. They were things that you can provide evidence for in regards to, well, you'll never encounter or never wind up on the same planet as somebody else because the odds are too slim. And it's like, yes, slim, but not non-existent. Whereas something like promising things that you're going to experience on a personal level, those are subjective. And subjective promises, if they don't come true, the audience is willing to accept some of the ownership of that not coming true. It's like, well, it didn't come true for me, but maybe it's my tastes. But when you have objective promises, like what with No Man's Sky did, objective promises are measurable, and if they're not delivered upon, that's when you run into problems because it was actually something that you could provide evidence for in regards to achieving. I could make a correlation with politics right now, but I'll avoid
that. So I think the what I would say against that is, what I'm worried about it is, I think there's lessons to be learned. He could have done better. I think in the next game, next season, whatever, even with these new patches, where, by the way, he said nothing this time. And I think that's very much as it, I think, is also bad. In some ways, it's also good given this fallout from it. Like, what was he going to do? Like, promise something again? Like, how would that possibly be perceived? So I guess what I what I dislike about it is like the thought around intent, where it's just like the way everyone else framed it with him. They said like he purposely lied and he misled us, and then he set the building we're in on fire and he ran away with all of our money. Ha ha ha. And the thought that that's the truth, that he said those things as in, well, this isn't true, but if I say it, I'll make more money. Ha 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 ha. And then like evil getaway car. Like it's just a bit much. Like I understand. Again, I think I'd never heard this guy before. I imagine that. So this seems to be one of the first times he's ever been in the spotlight. I think he had every intent of launching those things. Yeah. It just didn't come true, and he's learned a hard damn lesson. But I dislike the personal vitriol. I dislike the vitriol that's being thrown at him. Like under disappointment, yeah. Holding them to account as far as like he promised this and it wasn't there, great. But Sean Murray is a evil, vindictive, awful person who screwed us. Like it's just a bit much, guys.
Yeah.
And I think it very much, if you wanted a relationship with developers, calling them a Nazi doesn't help it.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just like you can't engage. I've been part of that Reddit. Owning the game, I was in it, and it got dark, man. It was awful. It's terrible.
It made the news. It made the news.
I think that's the thing too, is like what he did might have been bad form. Yeah, sure, it was bad form. But it was just, honestly, it's a video game.
Yeah.
People. And like the experience I've had in video games, there are a lot of things during game development that the dev team will talk with each other about and want to deliver and be like, oh, that's a cool idea. Ooh, that's a cool idea. Ooh, that's a cool idea. But usually those cards are kept really close to the dev team's chest, sometimes even internally. And it's usually standard practice to not mention anything unless it's already in the build, unless it's already in actual gameplay, like unless it's something you can demo at an exhibition, you don't talk about it. Even if it's something you really want to have in the game, even if it's a 95% certainty, you keep mum about it until the very last moment, until it's actually confirmed and done. I think that was the shortcoming he had, is that he promised stuff that was still in that ether of, wouldn't that be great, within the dev team. And then he brought that sort of sense of excitement, he brought the audience into that circle, and that was the bad move. Like, that circle really needs to be relatively tight, and it's not due to secrecy, it's due to the likelihood of it getting cut due to this or due to that, due to deadline, due to budget, due to resources, what have you, due to in-game engine conflicts or what have you. But he unfortunately brought the audience into that circle of ambitious what ifs. And sure, the what ifs might happen, but like, even gamed out those what ifs, bump to another build or bump to another patch or this or that. And he just let people in on the loop. And I don't think the audience understood that that is a far more liquid environment than they're used to in regards to what devs tell them.
Yeah, but I mean, what's amazing though is like, so into this environment though, they've released this update, and it's not tiny fixes. This is a huge, fantastic update. And to speak to it, there's these great UI enhancements where before it was bulky menu system, just bam, like quick items to be able to get them. There is base building, so that some of the more monotonous parts about mining can be done automatically. And then like some transport parts of it too, so you can jump around to waypoints. You can build those things. There's a freighter. There's these huge starships that you can buy and own. And I don't know if I think there might be multiple ships that you can get inside of it. I don't know. Either way, these ships are massive. You can jump in and own it and go around the universe. And just there's survival mode. So if you want a more challenging and see if I can not die for some period of time. So just like bam, bam. It's like, oh, it's just awesome amount of, it's so encouraging to see that especially after the way the community turned on them. There's some part of me that almost figures at some point they were like, forget it, like that's it, like they get nothing. We're out of here. But they stuck to it. They did, and this update looks phenomenal. It is enough for me to almost want to bring my PlayStation down here alone, like that one game. Just like, man, I want to play it. I can't. Right? Damn, you had to release get big now.
The thing is too is that like this patch is so substantial and it changes the game to such a degree that this was the stuff that's released in this patch was likely being worked on 6 months to a year ago at least. Like the stuff in this isn't just like this isn't just a band-aid that they put on due to the flack they received this summer. This is stuff that was already in the mix. It was just it didn't meet the August deadline, and I think sometimes those deadlines can be like with Mafia 3. Like there's a lot of graphical glitches that are happening in my personal gameplay where I'm like, oh, that stuff could have gotten ironed out had you pushed your window, but unfortunately sometimes there's other demands at play that prevent that. And I think No Man's Sky suffered a bit for that in combination with some lofty promises.
And the great story. I hope they do another one in 3 or 4 months and just hits keep coming. If this can turn into a Minecraft.
Exactly.
The Minecraft
that's
space.
Procedural game. So like you have this thing that's supposed to be ever growing and changing and variable. Like it's gonna constantly get tweaked. This isn't just an Assassin's Creed where it gets released and you enjoy it and then you move on to the next one. Like this is something that's long term.
Also, PSVR support. Very important.
Yeah.
Gotta get my spaceship, man. So.